I just finished walking 10,000 steps every single day for 30 days. And while I didn't miss a day during the self-inflicted challenge, there were some nights where I was out walking around my neighborhood in the dark after working all day, just trying to meet my daily step goal. I started this challenge right after finishing a successful 6-week nutrition and physical challenge at my gym. But then after completing the challenge at the gym, I went on a weekend winter cabin trip up in the mountains with some friends, and then a couple days later flew down to Palm Springs to join my dad for a road trip in the desert for a few days. And just like real life does, my schedule, sleep, and newly formed healthy habits all got thrown off, and I could feel myself losing momentum. So instead of waiting until I felt motivated again, I decided to try something simple: walking every single day. And honestly, this wasn't really about the steps. It was about rebuilding confidence, especially the kind of confidence you need when you want to hike or backpack alone. Because confidence on trail doesn't start with big adventures. It starts with small promises you keep to yourself every day. And what actually happened over the last 30 days had nothing to do with motivation and everything to do with identity and confidence. Hey, I'm Kathleen, a food-motivated hiker, solo backpacker, backpacking coach for women, and the Hungry Hiker here on YouTube. And while you might know me for big outdoor adventures, confidence didn't start out on trail for me. It started with small, consistent habits like this. And if you've ever wanted to try solo hiking or backpacking but feel unsure about where to start, this is exactly how confidence begins. And this is exactly why I wanted to make this video, because real consistency doesn't look like a pretty photo on Instagram. It looks like real life, and it can be messy. I didn't start this challenge from zero. I had just finished a 6-week challenge at my gym, and honestly, I felt really strong and was being consistent with showing up for myself every day. And then life happened. First, it was going on the weekend winter cabin trip with my friends, and then meeting up with my dad for a winter road trip down in the desert, which was all amazing, but my routine got completely thrown off. When I came home, I jumped right back into work. It was January in Missoula, and it was cold, dark, and I wasn't exactly motivated to want to get outside. Suddenly, I was starting to feel like I was losing all of that momentum I had built up before I left. That was a big wake-up call for me. I realized it wasn't motivation that disappears. It's structure. And when structure disappears, it becomes really easy to start talking yourself out of moving at all. I work from home. I sit in front of my computer for hours at a time, and I don't live somewhere that's super walkable. So it's really easy for me to spend entire days where I barely move. This is why I decided to start this challenge. Not to be perfect, not to lose weight, not to train like an athlete, but to give myself one small consistent goal every day. Just walk at least 10,000 steps every day for the next 30 days. I'm also currently training for the upcoming backpacking season, so I knew I didn't need anything extreme. I just needed consistency, something low impact, sustainable, realistic, and something I could do easily in the winter right outside my front door. Because when you're preparing for solo hiking or backpacking, you don't just need strong legs. You need to trust yourself to show up, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. So why 10,000 steps? And what does that actually look like in real life? The daily 10,000 step goal didn't come from some magic fitness rule. It's just a benchmark to help encourage daily movement. For me, it wasn't about chasing a perfect number. It was more about having a simple target that could help get me out of the door, especially on the days when I knew I wouldn't feel motivated to go. For most people, 10,000 steps comes out to roughly 4 to 5 miles of walking, depending on your stride length and pace. For me, some days this meant one big long walk in my neighborhood or training hike up in the nearby mountains. Other days it looked like multiple short walks throughout the day. And yes, sometimes it even meant a late night walk in the dark just to meet my daily step goal. Research shows that consistent daily walking can help improve energy levels, mood and mental health, cardiovascular health, sleep quality, and overall endurance. One of the biggest benefits of daily walking for me has just been getting outside in the sunlight at least once a day and having some intentional time to think, far away from my computer screen. Going into week 1, I had this picture in my head of how this challenge was going to go. I imagined calm mornings after the gym, getting my steps done early before I started my workday, where I would feel energized, be productive, and get back on top of my routine again. Yeah, that's not exactly how this challenge went. So cold, so cold. The reality was, I had just come back from traveling and my routine was completely thrown off. I had a lot of work to catch up on. Suddenly, this meant having to spend a lot of time sitting at my computer trying to get caught back up. There were a few days where at the end of the day, as the sun was starting to set, I realized I still had thousands of steps left to walk before I was able to meet my daily step goal. And since the sun sets around 5:30 during the winter, this meant having to walk throughout my neighborhood in the dark, trying to get all of my steps in before midnight. It's almost 11 o'clock and I am out getting my steps and it's cold, but I am committed to completing this challenge. And honestly, these walks felt a lot like having to make a decision to go hiking alone, when your brain starts telling you all the reasons why you shouldn't go, even though you know you're capable. At first, anytime I headed out for my walk after sunset, I hear a little voice inside my head trying to talk myself out of going. It would say things like, "I'm tired. It's cold outside. This is hard. Why are you doing this? Do you really want to do this? Wouldn't you rather just stay inside instead?" Then I'd remember a quote I came across recently that says, "If it's important enough, you'll make the time. If it's not, you'll make an excuse." I made the decision early on in this challenge that I would not make excuses. Anytime that little voice tried talking me out of going on my walk, even if deep down I didn't really feel like going, I'd ignore it, put my shoes and jacket on, and go on my walk anyways. Eventually, I noticed something starting to change. I went from thinking of myself as someone trying to get back into a routine to seeing myself as someone who just showed up for herself. Daily movement had become part of who I am and what I do, even when it wasn't convenient, even when I didn't feel like going, even when it was dark and cold outside. I can come up with a million excuses of why I don't do something. I'm busy. I'm tired. I'm not feeling it. I'm trying to finish this project. It's cold. It's too dark outside. But something I've noticed now that I'm well into my 40s that I've never really noticed before is that whenever I would think about needing to be healthier, I'd associate that with needing to be more active during the day, which meant having to completely overhaul my life and daily routine. But by the end of the first week into this challenge, I started seeing things differently. I saw that confidence and consistency aren't built from having perfect days or following the perfect routine. They're built from making small decisions on ordinary days. And that's exactly how confidence for solo hiking is built. Not with hiking long trails or big miles, but when you make small decisions where you prove to yourself that you can keep going. Then I remembered another quote I came upon recently that says, "Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it." I found myself no longer waiting for a magical burst of motivation or even a perfect morning or workout. Instead, I would just keep doing the thing I kept telling myself I wanted to do, which was to get off my butt, put my shoes on, and go for a walk. Every single day until I reached 10,000 steps. Oh my God, it is so cold. The weather didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to be excited about the walk. I didn't have to get all of my steps in on one walk. All I needed to do was show up and be consistent. Once I stopped trying to aim for having a perfect routine every day, things started to shift in week 2 and 3. Not because it suddenly became easy, but because it all started feeling like my new normal. Walking just became part of my day. And spending that much time outside and alone with my thoughts started to really feel familiar, which is actually one of the biggest mental shifts women need to make before they feel comfortable hiking alone. Sometimes it was mornings after the gym, walking around downtown. Sometimes it was in the afternoon up in the nearby hills whenever I needed a break from the computer. Sometimes it was during my weekly training hikes out on trail. And yes, occasionally, some of those steps were still walked at night. But it didn't feel like punishment, and I wasn't trying to talk myself out of going like I had before. This was just my new normal and what I do. Research shows that consistent daily walking can help improve cardiovascular health, reduce stress and anxiety, boost mood, and increase endurance over time. The more walks I went on, the more I started to notice changes like my mood feeling more stable, having more energy throughout the day, and even sleeping better at night. But the biggest change for me was mental. Walking every day gave me space, the space to think, reset, and step away from the computer so that I could be without any distractions. You might be wondering what walking every single day has to do with solo hiking or backpacking. Honestly, it has everything to do with it. Confidence on trail isn't built from going on one big adventure. It's built long before that, through all the small decisions you make over and over again in your everyday life. First, there's endurance. Backpacking isn't about speed or intense workouts. It's about spending consistent time on your feet and building a strong physical foundation so your body feels capable and supported when it's out on trail. Then there's the mental resilience. There were plenty of days during this challenge when I didn't feel like going for a walk, when it was cold, dark, or I felt tired. And solo hiking kind of feels the same way sometimes. but you learn how to keep moving forward even when things aren't perfect. Walking every day also helps build decision-making skills. Every day I had to figure out when I was going to walk, how I was going to fit it into my schedule, and whether I was going to listen to excuses or follow through on the promises I made to myself. Those same small decisions show up constantly whenever you're hiking alone. This challenge also helped me get more comfortable with being outside by myself. Spending time walking alone gave me space to think, to problem solve, and to feel more at ease in my own company, which is one of the biggest shifts most women go through before they feel confident hiking alone. And maybe most importantly, it helped me learn how to trust myself again. Trust that I would show up, trust that I would follow through, and trust that even when things felt uncomfortable, I was capable of taking the next step to move forward. And that's exactly how solo backpacking confidence is built. To help make this challenge easier on myself, I started doing things like scheduling each of my workouts and training hikes on my calendar, setting out my workout clothes and walking shoes the night before, meal prepping healthy food for the week over the weekend, and making sure I had my water bottle with me wherever I went. I stopped hoping for motivation to show up and instead started designing my environment to make showing up for myself easier. This wasn't just about walking. This was now becoming part of my winter training for the upcoming backpacking season. Backpacking isn't built on intense workouts alone. It's built on endurance, consistency, and spending time on your feet. By walking every day, my body was starting to feel a strong foundation being built without it feeling overwhelming or burning me out. And somewhere during week 2 and 3, I stopped thinking, I have to get my steps in today, and instead started to actually look forward to my walks because this was just what I did now. I also found myself starting to let go of a lot of shame around things I couldn't control. Things like having a busy workday, winter weather, and unexpected curveballs life would throw my way. Instead of beating myself up, I started focusing on things I could actually control, like choosing to show up for myself with every walk I went on. And as a woman who's in her late 40s, I'm now realizing that motivation doesn't have to be this big thing and come from some big transformation moment. It can just come from showing up for myself on regular days, over and over again, until the movement becomes part of my identity and is just something I do instead of having to talk myself into doing it. By the time week 4 rolled around, I was feeling stronger, more consistent, and honestly, more like myself again. But even when a routine starts to feel normal, life still happens. Week 4 was still filled with plenty of busy days, long work hours, and cold weather. And yes, a few more late night walks just to get those 10,000 steps in every single day. But honestly, those less than perfect days might have been the most important part of this whole challenge for me. Because confidence didn't come from a perfect morning or the perfectly planned workout. It came from keeping promises I made to myself every single day, especially on the days when I tried to talk myself out of going. So after 30 days of walking at least 10,000 steps every single day, physically, some things did change, even though this wasn't a weight loss challenge. Over the last 30 days, I lost 3 pounds, dropped 1% of body fat, and lowered my resting heart rate by 15 beats per minute, which is actually one of the most meaningful changes for my overall fitness and endurance. My energy levels throughout the day have improved dramatically, and I'm not as winded walking up my stairs. My training hikes feel stronger, and I'm way more productive throughout my workday. Also, my mood and mental clarity have improved as well. I've had more good days than hard days over the last 30 days, and have been sleeping a lot better. The biggest transformation for me from this challenge wasn't the numbers. It was the consistency and confidence I built along the way. I'm no longer someone who's just trying to get back on track or trying to come up with excuses for why I don't want to do something. I'm now someone who moves consistently every single day. Daily movement is no longer something I'm working to achieve. It's just what I do now. I show up for myself, even when life gets busy, when motivation is low, and when it's dark and cold outside. And that same identity shift from someone who's unsure to someone who trusts herself is exactly what I see happen with women who start preparing for solo backpacking adventures. And as someone who's training for the backpacking season, this reminded me that preparation doesn't have to be extreme in order for it to be effective. Endurance is built through spending time on your feet. Confidence is built through consistency. And both of these things can easily start with something as simple as walking. And this is exactly how I help women inside the Confident Solo Female Backpacker system. We don't start with intense workouts, hiking big miles, overwhelming plans, or intimidating adventures. We start with small, realistic actions and build confidence over time, all while being surrounded by a supportive community of women who are working towards their own hiking and backpacking goals together. So if you've been waiting for motivation to magically show up before you start moving more, or before you try hiking or backpacking, maybe the lesson isn't to wait for motivation. Maybe it's to start now by starting small, staying consistent, and letting confidence catch up along the way. If you're watching this and thinking, maybe I can start small too, guess what? You absolutely can. If you're a woman who wants to start building up confidence for hiking and backpacking, even if you feel behind, out of shape, or unsure where to start, I want to invite you to book a free one-on-one Zoom call with me. On our call, we'll talk about your hiking and backpacking goals, where you're currently at, where you want to go, and how you can start building confidence step by step inside the Confident Solo Female Backpacker system, alongside a community of women all working towards their own adventures together. Click the link down in the description to schedule your free call. If you like this video and got some value out of it, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for new videos each week, and hit the bell icon to get notified each time new videos are posted. And if all this talk of walking more throughout the day has you thinking you might want to try hiking this year, check out this next video where I break down the biggest mistakes most beginner hikers make and how to avoid them so you feel way more confident getting started. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy trails and keep on trucking.